Interfaces in Java. Let me make this slightly bigger so that it's readable to you. Let me make it 16. Now, what are interfaces in Java? Whenever we talk about interfaces, you need to remember few things. First of all, what are interfaces? So, as an answer to that, interfaces are nothing but the blueprint of a class. Now, what do you mean by blueprint of a class? Uh, we say that a class contains certain data members and certain methods or functions. Now, a class contains certain data members and member functions or methods. Now, an interface on the contrary contains the abstraction of those methods and those data members. What do I mean by abstraction? Actually, an interface contains the declaration of methods and data members of a class. Interface contains the declaration of methods and data members of class. Now, if there is a class, let's suppose student, and there is a data member in it, int roll number, and there is, let's suppose, a method public void display. Now this data member contains some data to display. Let's suppose it displays the roll number of a student. Now, what does an interface contains? Suppose there is an interface test. So we will write interface test. Test is actually an interface, and we will write it as class test, and then we will write roll number as static roll number, and then we will write public void display. So what's the difference between a class and an interface is that an interface contains the declaration of methods and data members of a class. So if I want to make this interface, what I will do, I will make the roll number as static, and I will make this function public void display as abstract. So in order to make an interface, you need to remember two things. First is that every data member must be static. Every data member, just like your roll number, here we have defined it as a static. Now obviously we will have data type, so let's say int, and the second one is every method or member function must be abstract. So there are two things that you need to remember while creating an interface. These are, first one is every data member must be static, and second one is every method or member function must be abstract. So while creating this interface test, we have created a data member roll number, and we have made it static, and we have also, we are having a function display, and we have made that function abstract. Now while using this interface, we need to say class student implements interface. So the other point that you need to remember is implements is the keyword used to implement an interface inside a class. What do I mean by implementing an interface inside a class? Means the class is itself having everything. It is having data members, it is having member functions, and the interface is only having the blueprint of that class. If this class is having display function, then the interface will have the declaration of this display function and nothing more than that. The definition will be in class itself, but interface will only contain the declaration of the display function and nothing more than that. And similarly, if there is a data member, let's say int roll number, then an interface will contain only the declaration of it. We cannot say roll number is equals to 2 or roll number plus plus, or certain kind of operations we cannot perform in an interface. We can only perform operations inside a class. Here inside a class we can say int roll number is equals to 2, or here in the member function we can say roll number plus plus. So we can perform operations inside class, but only the blueprint needs to be given inside an interface. Only the declaration needs to be given inside an interface. Definition resides inside the class itself, as we have done plenty of examples of classes. So you are thorough with classes. Here we are discussing about the interface. So interface is nothing but the blueprint of the class, contains the declaration of methods and data members of the class. And in order to make an interface, you need to remember two things. Every data member must be static, and every method or member function must be abstract. So after all this, finally there is yet one more thing. Implements is the keyword used to implement an interface inside a class. Now there is yet another thing which you need to observe. What is the advantage of an interface? Why do we actually use interface? See, uh, this is object oriented programming. Java is an object oriented programming language, and everything is systematic in Java. So whenever you are creating a class for designing an application, that class is not as short as this student class. It is as big as having hundreds of lines. So classes are much larger in the real examples in designing real applications. So having something which provides you focused view of the class, or which provides you the blueprint of the class, which tells you that these all are the things that are contained in the class. So that kind of thing is an interface. So interface is nothing but the focused view of the class, so that you know what all things are present inside the class. So this is the use of an interface. This is the advantage of an interface. The other advantage of an interface is it provides data abstraction. Data abstraction, as we have discussed earlier, data abstraction is nothing but uh, hiding of unimportant data and displaying all important data. Last time we have discussed it with the view of private, protected, public members. Those are the uh, key specifiers of maybe a data member or a method. But here we are discussing abstraction in the sense that uh, the definition of the class, what all definitions a class contains. This display function might have contained hundreds of lines, and there might have been thousands of, or tens of, or hundreds of data members included in this student class, but those all are not written inside the interface. Those all definitions are not written, only their blueprint are written. Only we can say that static int roll number. We cannot say roll number plus plus, or roll number is equals to roll number into 13 or into 14 or whatever. And so we cannot perform some operations on roll number. Similarly, in the case of member functions or methods, a class contains all thousand lines. It contains all definition of the display function, but an interface contains just the declaration. It only specifies that the class student contains display function, nothing more than that. So it provides you data abstraction, that is, it has hidden the much not needed data in the interface. It has hidden that unimportant data. It has given that data inside the class, but it has hidden that data inside an interface. So an interface provides data abstraction as well as the focused view of the class. Basically it is the blueprint of the class. So that's all for the interface. Thank you.